I thought you were going to do that. Oh, okay. Ha! Alright, what's up? We're here with Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes. This is a remake of MGS1 for the Gamecube. And it is made by Silicon Knights.
Our boys.
Who also did Eternal Darkness, which we just got done playing, and then eventually doesn't exist anymore.
And if anyone hasn't watched that playthrough, Eternal Darkness is one of my favorite games of all time. And everything after they made that game is very weird to downright bad.
Was this before or after Eternal Darkness?
This was after.
After.
This came out in 2004, I think.
Oh! I don't want to say a late GameCube game, but...
pretty late for the GameCube, considering that by 2004 it was basically dead.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
The GameCube was really only alive for like 3 years, maybe.
Yeah, because the Wii came out in 2005, and Nintendo, pretty famously, when a new system comes out, they're done with their old one.
Yeah. And people don't remember this, but Twilight Princess coming out in 2006 was very weird for the GameCube, because at that point, like, the GameCube didn't have, like, almost any releases at all for like a year.
Hence why it's fairly expensive on the GameCube.
Anyway, time to get comfy. I've been doing a lot of high effort, lots of practice, let's plays, so movie time is sounding pretty comfy right now.
Hey, Paul.
This is the mission briefing, but we're going to watch it because it's Kino.
So this came out 6 years after MGS1.
Have 2 mission objectives.
Just to show you how technology advanced so much.
Yeah, remakes
back then.
Remakes after one generation really weren't that weird, and honestly, like, some of the best games of all time, like RE1 remake, another top 10 game for me, and that's a remake after, again, like 6 years.
Yeah, because I think that was 2002, and I think RE1 was 96.
Yep.
So.
But like the divide between the PS1 and PS2 or whatever GameCube was just monumental.
That's why people are kind of upset when they're like, "Hey, Last of Us Part 2 remake on the PS5." The difference between the PS4 and PS5 is nowhere as big as from the PS1 to PS2. And it's the law of diminishing returns. Like, it just is what it is.
Whenever people ask me that, like, is PS5 that much different? I always answer that it is more about the experience than the graphics. Things load so fast. You can go back to the menu in like a split second. It just feels really snappy. Even loading games, doing anything is snappy.
Yeah.
So, like, in terms of that, it really feels like a souped-up PS4.
Yeah, there's I mean, I've played some really great-looking games on the PS5, but if I compare it to, like, FF7 Remake on the PS4, I'm not like, oh my god, it's night and day difference!
Yeah, the big difference with Final Fantasy VII Remake on PS4 and PS5 is that PS5, it loads up in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And Resident Evil... Why do I keep saying Resident Evil? That game on PS4 has, like, 45-second load times.
Yeah, that's how I originally played FF7 Remake, so... Repeating things?
The classic. So for this remake, they redubbed everything, and some of the characters don't sound exactly the same.
Are they the same voice actors?
I think for the most part, yeah. Like, the biggest one is Mei Ling. You know, Mei Ling has sort of that Chinese-American accent in the original. She barely has it in this. I guess they might have thought it was stereotyping. I don't know.
Can't have a Chinese person sound Chinese.
It sounds like, if it's like, the original is like 100%, in this game it's like 20%.
Okay.
After you reach your target. As always, this is a one-man sneaking mission.
Of course.
Weapons and equipment.
Snake! Do everything! Do everything yourself!
This is a top-secret black op. Don't expect any...
we'll be here, this reminds me of, the South Park episode where Kenny, it's like season 1, where Kenny has to go out and turn on, the generator at a hospital, and literally they're like, this is a two-part mission. Part 1 is us sitting here watching you, and part 2 is Kenny. And literally, Kenny goes out and does everything, and he's like, Kenny, we will be giving you support. We will be giving you support by watching TV shows and eating cheesy poofs. And Kenny's like, what the... Because, of course, that was in the period of time with South Park where, oh my god, they killed Kenny. And would you believe he died doing that?
What?
But yeah, that reminds me of this. It's like, Snake, we have 40 people here helping you, but only you can go on the mission. Okay. It has, I was telling Trev, it's been a long while since I played MGS1, and I mean, I've definitely played it once or twice, and it's a fantastic game, but this will be a nice reminder.
Yeah, Twin Snakes is a weird one. I would say it's like the black sheep of the franchise, and that doesn't necessarily mean that it's like the worst, because obviously the worst is like Metal Gear Survive, or like the really weird games like Metal Gear Acid. But like this one is just like a really weird anomaly. Like it was published and funded by Nintendo, at least partially. Konami is probably never going to re-release this. I don't know if Nintendo has like an iron grasp on it. It's made by a disgraced developer that's dead. It's such a weird game. Why would a remake of MGS1, one of the biggest landmark titles in video game history, be a remake on the GameCube made by Silicon Knights? It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. Like, I can even understand if Silicon Knights made it, but why is it a GameCube exclusive?
Yeah. Like Nintendo must have been desperate.
Is that them being like, oh, well, Nintendo fans didn't get to play it back in the day?
I just have to imagine Nintendo was like, we need anything for 2004, so they probably paid like a good amount for this.
Well, I mean, look at the Resident Evil remake. It was made by Capcom, but it was only on the GameCube.
Yeah. The Capcom Fiber was weird, and especially, what's his face? The director of Resident Evil 1 and remake.
Shinji
Mikami, yeah. He notoriously hated the PS2 because of the faulty hardware, so he really wanted to push like Capcom just to the GameCube, which was a bad decision.
Hello. Can you hear me?
How many sit-downs will this playthrough be? Holy crap.
Looks like the
It won't be as long as MGS2. MGS1, even, I mean, Twin Snakes doesn't really add any areas, but this game is small. It just has a lot of cutscenes.
MGS2 is... probably has the longest, of games I've played, it's had the longest, like, concurrent cutscenes ever in any game I've played through.
Do you remember we did an MGS2 LP when we finished it?
Yep. I remember some of the times was just literally like, alright, here's a cutscene. Alright, that was the part.
We did that a long time ago. That was at your old house.
The part where Raiden is going around and freezing all of the bombs before Fat Man has some of the longest concurrent cutscenes ever in the history of the world. Like, holy crap. The guy who, I think his name is Arms, or Armus, the guy who helps you figure out the bomb stuff is only in the game for, like, that little part, but he has a billion lines because it's just constant communication. The reason I stepped back and was going to say MGS2 is the most cutscenes ever, I remembered MGS4, which is literally just one long cutscene.
MGS4 is, I would say honestly, 85% movie, 15% game.
Yeah.
I know people meme about
MGS,
but yeah. MGS4 is really where, like, it is 100% true. By the way, I'm not going to harp on it too much, but I hate MGS4. I hate everything about it. I hate everything they did with it. I hate the character changes. I hate the retcons. But anyway, we're talking about Twin Snakes.
I played MGS4 one time the whole way through. I liked the story, but I would legitimately never play it again.
So one thing they do add in this is the M9, which is a tranquilizer gun.
How are you supposed to know it's there?
Open stuff? I don't know. Now, first-person aiming and M9. Twin Snakes is an incredibly easy game. I won't even lie. Whoa.
Is there somebody there?
What was that just now? This is Alaska. Oh, this like the same general feel is like nope. Get wrecked.
That middle one's locked. I don't know if it like gives you anything, but I was interested. Give me that ration.
This really has a MGS2 feel. It's almost like
it's an MGS2 engine.
Engine, yeah. Even how you were punching, I was like, "Hello, MGS2." Huh?
The aiming in this is kind of weird. Oh my god, that was so
Who's this? Are you able to take that elevator up if he sees you?
No. Yeah, if it goes into alert, I would have to knock him out. Luckily, since he was the only one, like, not... Or the only one awake, I could have just punched him before he radioed in reinforcements. I'm not necessarily... I did not practice much for this game, and I've never been that good at MGS. I'm just doing a normal...
No, that's fine. Imagine playing MGS1 for the first time, and, like, not really knowing what to expect, and getting immediately BTFO'd in the first room with two, like, people that immediately call in reinforcements and being like, what the crap? Yeah. I will say, I've never played the MSX version of Metal Gear 1, but the NES one is one of the hardest games ever in the history of the
also such a bad game.
It's also very bad, yes.
The MSX version, I played through it all when the HD collection came out, like literally 10 years ago. And it's pretty good. It's way better than the NES version. But it's also fairly similar, so you shouldn't expect it to be like that much different. The NES version adds the jungle. And then other than that, like, the games are very similar, but the NES one is just way rougher.
Well, luckily the jungle part is the worst part of the game that I played.
Yeah, it's the worst.
We say it all the time, if you ever watch any of our Let's Tries, where we'll just take a random old school Super Nintendo game and plug it in. I just cannot fathom how many retro, like, games, like platformers and stuff like that, were like, alright, we're putting out this game. Let's make the worst level the first one.
Front of the disposal facility.
What?
Excellent, Snake. Age hasn't slowed you down one bit.
And there's times where it's like the hardest level too, you know?
Nice
Yep.
and dry,
And it's like, are you
it's a little
kidding
hard
me?
to
All
move.
the time.
Bear with it. It's designed to prevent hypothermia. This is Alaska, you know.
Does David Hayter do anything anymore?
If it weren't for your
Besides, like, going to, like, too many games and stuff like that?
Yeah, to be like, hey, remember when I was Solid Snake literally 10 years ago? I don't think he does.
I see. I'm relieved to hear that.
He probably just does, like, Cameo. That thing where you pay a celebrity to just, like, say something. And is like,
Two F-16s just took off from
this
Galena
is
and are headed your
Solid
way.
Snake just wishing
The
Trevor a
terrorist
happy
radar should have already
birthday.
picked them up.
Happy birthday!
And I know David Hayter is also, like, he's a man of,
Colonel.
I guess the word's talent, where he tries to do a lot of things and kind of fails at all of them. But he isn't just a voice actor.
Oh, that's cool.
But it looks like our little device.
I don't know anything about him except for he's Solid Snake. That's literally
Yeah,
it.
that's all I care about, so I don't, like, follow his career or care about it. Also, I think he did... There's something about his voice, how it changes. I don't know if he, like, lost the voice or, like, he damaged his throat. But MGS3 onwards, especially MGS4, and Peace Walker as well, he sounds bad.
Maybe that's why,
I would say that MGS4 was purposeful because he's
He's
old
old.
Snake.
Yeah.
But I feel as if when he did MGS4, that, like, ruined his throat forever. And Peace Walker, he sounds, like, exactly the same, and it doesn't make any sense.
Rip.
Even in this,
There are only 18 hours left
it's kind of
until the
notorious
deadline.
or well
You've got
known
to
that
hurry.
David Hayter had a
You must be
cold
crazy
when he
for
was doing the
hiding this
original
kind of
recordings
weather.
for MGS1.
Who's that?
And I think it was like the
Sorry, I
perfect
haven't
recipe
introduced you
for
to
like
yet.
one of my favorite
is
performances
Mei Ling.
of all time.
She was
And
assigned to us as
MGS2
our
also is
visual
like
and
one of my
data
favorite like
processing
voice acting
specialist.
roles when
She
he's playing as
designed your
Pliskin.
codec, as well as your Soliton radar
MGS3
system.
is also pretty good, but
Contact her
MGS4
if you
is
have
really
any
weird.
questions about either of them.
I always have a
Snake
tough
is
time
Snake.
figuring out what my
He's
favorite
an
MGS
artist,
game
to a
is.
living legend like yourself.
And I want to say 3,
What's wrong?
but then I want to say 2, and then I want to say 1. That each one has one fatal flaw. Not fatal flaw, but one flaw that makes it from being like the GOAT. You know what I mean?
I like all 3 of the originals for different reasons. I think MGS1 is like the most well-rounded,
Probably.
but it's also the smallest.
But I'm
by a lot.
surprised.
MGS2 is probably the most flawed, but it has my favorite story. And then MGS3 is definitely the best game, but it has the most boring story.
I would say MGS3, the fact that it like it's almost too big, it goes from being like way too small to way too big. You know what I mean? Like MGS3, some of the jungle parts are like
Be careful.
just
Snake.
crazy tough.
The
I will say that the
Geodes are
original
highly
version of
developed
MGS3
senses
with the
of
top-down
hearing
camera is
into their
nearly
gene
unplayable. You should
Make
only
sure
play
you
the
don't let them see you.
subsistence version or the HD collection.
That has the first-person shooting.
Yeah, it's like behind the
The DARPA chief was injected
shoulder
with the same
camera,
GPS
kind of.
Didn't
transmitter
MGS2 have
as
first-person shooting?
It
He
did.
should appear on your radar as
So
a
MGS3
green
doesn't?
MGS
The standard one?
MGS3 does, but because of how big the environment is, what you have to do is kind of just like use first-person aiming literally every 2
Snake, your
seconds.
radar isn't affected
And also,
by
there's
the
no
laser,
Soliton
but if you're
radar
discovered by an
because it's the
enemy, you won't be able to
1960s.
use it.
Yes, it gets jammed.
But, oh yeah,
easily,
they have
I'm
like
afraid.
noise radar or something, right?
It's like
Far
way
away from
worse.
currently existing
So,
technology. You
even
won't
though
be able to
MGS 1 and
use
2
it in an
have
area
like the
with strong
top-down cameras
harmonic
where you can't see
resonance,
much and you're
so be
kind of
careful.
just staring at the
We'll be
radar, it
monitoring your
works
movements by
in
radar.
conjunction with
So
first-person aiming.
contact us by
For me,
codec
MGS2,
anytime you want.
the
Got it. I'll
thing
call
that
if I
turns me
feel
off from
lonely.
that is
Seriously, Snake.
the
We're here to
setting.
back you
The
up, so
tanker's
call if you
awesome,
need some information
but the
and advice.
plant or whatever they
I'm
call the
also
second
in charge
part,
of your mission
or no wait,
data.
no, the
Contact
ship
me
is
if you want
awesome.
me to save your
Yeah, the
current
tanker's the
status.
first part, then the
My
plant's the second.
frequency
Then the plant's the
is
second, yeah.
The plant is just too
140.96.
industrial for me.
It's a
It has
dedicated
the
frequency
6
for saving
nodes,
data.
and then it's
Don't
divided into
forget it.
2. And then even when you think about it, you don't even like go through half of it because it gets like slowed up at like halfway to the point. So it's a very
I
small,
First I'm
very
strip searched by
mechanical
Dr.
feeling kind of
Naomi here,
place.
and then all
Yeah.
my weapons are taken away. Imagine yourself put in that
And then
position.
MGS4 is not even in the
Well, if you make it
conversation
back in
because
one
it's not a
piece,
game.
Maybe I'll let you do a strip search on me.
I'll hold you to that.
It's like
Doctor.
MGS4 might be like
By
the biggest
way,
game,
sorry to
but like
disappoint you, but I did manage to smuggle out my
like
smokes.
the third part
How
is
did
just
you do
like
that?
basically an
In my
on-rails
stomach.
shooter.
Thanks to the shot you gave me that
And then you
suppressed
go
my
back to
stomach
Shadow
acids.
Moses in Chapter
Cigarettes?
4, but it's
How
like
are those going to help you?
You never know.
all the stuff that they throw you through.
How do you figure out?
If you want to get in, there's the front door.
I forget the
It's
girl
the
with
fastest
the
way, but
hair
there's
that
too
you meet
much
in here.
risk
How do you
of
figure
being
out her
spotted by
codec?
The girl with the hair.
The
Oh,
hair that
Just
flips
knock
up.
on the
What's her
door,
name?
ask the
Meryl?
Meryl. Yeah.
What about the
How do you
airbag
figure out
near
her
the door?
codec? Is it also on the back of
One sentry
the?
on the left,
the
and one
box?
on the
Yes.
right.
So that's a pretty cool infamous thing.
All MGS
There
games
should
have
also be a
fourth
duct
wall
on the
breaking,
second
and
floor.
that's
Yes.
probably
I
the
can't
most
see it from
notable.
here.
In MGS1,
I'll let you decide the best COA.
you need to figure out what
I'm
Meryl's
telling you,
codec
Snake.
is. And in order to figure it out, it's on the back of the box. Literally, there's a screenshot where Meryl's saying "Snake," and you get to see the codec, and that is that's so cool. Like Kojima, when he wants to be, is a freaking genius. He just needs to. He literally needs to have somebody that is like breathing down his neck.
Yes. He is very much a George Lucas where he can have brilliant ideas, but he needs someone to filter it.
Hence, Death Stranding. Nobody was breathing down his neck, and then you came out with the dumbest game ever made. I don't even know how else to put it. A game that I desperately want to like,
A surveillance
but
camera.
just cannot, because it's the most boring game ever made. Are they? Death Stranding came out in like 2018 or something. Are they working on anything?
They're working on Death Stranding 2.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh,
There's been some trailers, but very little has been shown.
okay. You should answer every single.
All those optional ones are always like, press the crawl button to crawl.
Right. Man,
There's a
I mean,
codec call for like getting on a ladder.
Death Stranding did sell pretty well.
Snake. This is
Yeah, talking about
McDonald
Kojima for a bit.
It's been a long time.
Master.
This guy's voice
What
is
are you doing
amazing.
here?
By the way.
Kojima has
I
made
quit
some of my
being a
favorite
boot
games of all
camp
time,
instructor, so I moved out
even
here
Metal
for
Gear
some peace
2
and
is also a
quiet.
really good game.
I'm in
But
retirement,
I think at some
just like
point,
you. Once in a
once he
while,
got
I
like
still help
global
train the
recognition
Alaskan
and like
Scouts.
acclaim and
Passing
fame,
on
and
the
people really
skills to a
treat
new
him as the video
generation,
game
huh?
like all
Campbell
tour
told me about the
of the
situation
day.
here. I thought I
And
might
I think
be
it
of
really
some
just went
use.
to his head,
There's no
and I think
I'd rather
everything
have a foxhole
culminated.
than you.
I know
Well,
it's
I
okay
know
if you like
lots about
MGS4, and I
surviving in a
understand
harsh
people that
environment.
like it, but I think
I've lived
everything
in Alaska
culminated with
longer than you.
MGS4.
So call
with
me if you have any
just
questions about the
everything
flora
about
or
it.
fauna.
There's so many contrivances that he tried to make it seem like I actually had this plan for 30 years, and you're like, no, you didn't. Like at the end, I don't. So we'll be talking spoilers for the whole MGS series, just as a heads up. So this is a big spoiler for end of 4. But at the end of 4, when they're like, actually, the person in charge of everything at the whole thing is Colonel Zero, who was your colonel in MGS3 in the 1960s, is like the stupidest thing ever in the history of the world.
MGS4 has to connect to the previous 3 games, and they do it so bad.
They're about to start spraying for rats.
Especially everything with
First floor
MGS3.
basement ventilation shaft.
Like,
Shut those covers as soon as
Dude.
you're done spraying.
that's
Also, keep
so
your eye on that
bad.
woman in the cell.
And
Don't get
he was
careless
like,
now.
wasn't he?
Woman
He
in
was
the
the
cell.
head of the Patriots, or he was the Patriots, or whatever, or something stupid.
Yeah, he was the leader or one of the members of the
And he was like the
Patriots.
last one left. So you meet him, and he's like literally 90 years old in a wheelchair and dying, and
Yeah,
it's like,
he
so you're
eventually-
the big bad guy.
Eventually, he makes that, I guess, with... It was like one other person on the MGS3 like backup team like helped him make the Patriots AI, so that becomes like a completely autonomous sort of like global
Was it
governance.
Signet, the weapons guy?
I forget.
It doesn't matter.
But the entire idea of like Major Zero was obsessed with the boss, and he thought that the boss's will was to control humanity with an AI. No, Kojima, no.
You mentioned George Lucas, but like legitimately, it's a very similar thing where like Lucas came out with Star Wars, right? And the original Star Wars was just called Star Wars. It wasn't called Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope. It was called Star Wars. It might have been called A New Hope, but it wasn't called Episode 4 when it first came out. And then it got big. So it's like, okay, we'll make this a trilogy. But actually, this is the second trilogy. What's the first trilogy? Well, let me tell you, I've had this plan for 40 years. Let's make this trilogy. It's about Anakin. And then they had to, like, contrive so many things to get things to work out to the start of Episode 4. Which is why when you're telling a story, I don't know what the official, like, playbook is on it, because I've never taken any classes or anything on it. But I personally do not write the ending first and then try to find ways to get to the ending. I find that it's very difficult, and you're just going to end up with a whole bunch of contrivances. You should really start at the beginning and just work it out as if you're that character. What would this character do? How would this happen? What does this lead to? And then you get to the natural ending. But if you're like, oh yeah, I knew since 1977 that the ending of Star Wars would be this. It's like, no, you didn't. You just literally made it up as you went. Sorry. Or Kojima in 1985 or 89 making Metal Gear and being like, I had this plan the whole time. It's like, no, you didn't. Maybe you had like a very, very rough idea, but no.
Look at the radar. It's picking up the DARPA chief. He's the green dot. Hurry and rescue him.
Oh,
Snake, do
thank
everything.
you. Thank you.
Snake,
Snake!
do this.
You get
Snake, do
meme?
that. Snake, do
let's
this.
check out this one.
Snake, if you want to go up or down a ladder, just press the
At least he's
action
not telling him
button
what
by
to
the ladder.
do. He said if
Approach
you
the ladder
want
and
to.
press the action button to climb it.
Also, they don't... The action button's weird. The action button in this game is Y.
Ooh,
Oof.
I don't like that. Snake, would you kindly rescue the DARPA chief? Thank you.
So, I'm gonna try to go for a no-kills run. I haven't even, like, played, like, even half of this game yet, so I might just abandon that. I know that there's that one section at the end where you're going up, like, a bunch of stairs, and there's a million guys.
Oh,
So
and the Hind D is like
I'll
following
probably,
you?
I'll probably just give it up. I might just give it up now.
Instantly says it and then instantly gives it up. Never mind.
Because that's what I was doing on practice, but I got to the tank, and I was like, this is zero fun.
Hey, better.
A woman. Not him.
Excellent deductions. That is the greatest soldier of our lifetime right there, folks.
There's no way he could get around there without people hearing him. Like, I don't care how good he is. You'd hear something, you'd be like, what's in the vents?
Man, that was some compelling gameplay right there.